Coverage of AWS reInvent continues in a moment. Coming to you from Las Vegas, Nevada, it's theCUBE, covering AWS reInvent 22. Welcome to theCUBE's live coverage of the biggest, most comprehensive, and most vibrant event in cloud computing. Join theCUBE's John Furrier, Dave Vellante, Lisa Martin, Savannah Peterson, Paul Gillen, and John Walls as we take a deep dive into silicon, networking, and storage solutions with really smart people. And it's all on theCUBE, your global leader in high-tech coverage.
is you can span across multiple data sources to create federated data products that
one step. It's basically saying, what data do I need to support my
And I think that's what data products aims to do.
What about data fabric? I have to say, I'm confused by data fabric. I read this, I feel like Gartner just threw it in there to muck it up and say, no, we get to make up the terms. But I've read, data mesh versus data fabric. Is data fabric just more sort of the physical infrastructure and data mesh is more of an organizational construct, or how do you see it?
Yeah, I'm happy to take that. So, I mean, to me, it's a little bit of potato. I think there are some subtle differences. Data fabric is a little bit more about data movement, whereas I think data mesh is a little bit more about accessing the data where it lies. But they're both trying to solve the similar problem, which is that we have data in a wide variety of different data sets, and for us to actually analyze it, we need to have a single view.
Because Gartner Hype Cycle says data mesh is DOA, which I think is complete BS. I think it's real. You talk to customers that are doing it, they're doing it on AWS, they're trying to extend it across clouds. I mean, it's a real trend. I mean, anyway, that's why I see it.
See, I feel the word data fabric many a times gets misused, because when you think about the digitization movement that started almost a decade ago, many companies tried to digitize or create digital twins of their systems into the data world, right? So everything has an underlying data fabric that replicates what's happening transactionally or otherwise in the real world. What data mesh does is create structure that works complementary to the data fabric that then lends itself to data products, right? So to me, data products becomes a medium which drives the connection between data mesh and data fabric into the real world for usage and consumption.
So you should write for Gartner. That's the best explanation I've heard. That made sense.
That really did. That was excellent. So, when we think about any company these days has to be a data company, whether it's your grocery store, a gas station, a car dealer, what can companies do to start productizing their data so that they can actually unlock new revenue streams, new routes to market? What are some steps and recommendations that you have? Justin, we'll start with you.
Sure, I would say the first thing is find data that is ultimately valuable to the consumers within your business and create a product of it. And the way you do that at Starburst is allow you to essentially create a view of your data that can span multiple data sources. So again, we're decoupling where the data lives. That might be a table that lives in a traditional data warehouse, a table that lives in an operational system like Mongo, a table that lives in a data lake. And you can actually join those together and represent it as a view and now make it easily consumable. And so the end user doesn't need to know, did that live in a data warehouse, an operational database, or a data lake? I'm just accessing that. And I think that's a great, easy way to start in your journey. Because I think if you absorb all the elements of data mesh at once, it can feel overwhelming. And I think that's a great way to start.
Irrespective of physical location.
Yes.
Right?
Precisely.
Yeah.
Yep, multi-cloud, hybrid cloud, you name it.
See, and when you think about the broader landscape, right? Traditionally, companies have only looked at internal data as a way of driving business decisions. More and more as things evolve into industry clouds or ecosystem data, and companies start going beyond their four walls in terms of the data that they manage or the data that they use to make decisions, I think data products are going to play more and more an important part in that construct where you don't govern all the data. There are entities within that ecosystem will govern parts of their data, but that data lives together in the form of data products that are governed somewhat centrally. I mean, kind of like a blockchain system, but not really.
Justin, for our folks here, as we kind of wrap the segment here, what's the bumper sticker for Starburst and how you're helping organizations to really be able to build data products that add value to their organization?
I would say analytics anywhere. Our core ethos is we want to give you the ability to access data wherever it lives and understand your business holistically. And our query engine allows you to do that from a query perspective, and data products allows you to bring that up a level and make it consumable.
Make it consumable. Ashwin, last question for you. Yeah. Here we are, day one of reInvent, loads of people behind us. Tomorrow, all the great keynotes kick off. What are you hoping to take away from reInvent 22?
Well, I'm hoping to understand how all of these different entities that are represented here connect with each other, right? And to me, Starburst is an important player in terms of how do you drive connectivity. And to me, as we help clients from a Deloitte perspective drive that business value, connectivity across all of the technology players is an extremely important part. So integration across those technology players is what I'm trying to get from reInvent here.
That's what you guys do, you're dot connectors. Right?
Exactly,
Yes.
excellent. Guys,
Yeah.
thank you so much for joining Dave and me on the program tonight. We appreciate your insights, your time, and probably the best explanation of data fabric versus data mesh and data products that we've maybe ever had on the show. We appreciate your time, thank you.
Thank you,
guys.
Lisa. Thank you.
All right. For our guests and Dave Vellante, I'm Lisa Martin. You're watching theCUBE, the leader in enterprise and emerging tech coverage.
Coverage of AWS reInvent continues in a moment.
Hey everyone, welcome to Las Vegas. theCUBE is here live at the Venetian Expo Center for AWS reInvent 2022. Amazing attendance. This is day one of our coverage. Lisa Martin here with Dave Vellante. David, it's great to see so many people back. We're going to be we've been having great conversations already. We have wall-to-wall coverage for the next 3.5 days. When we talk to companies, customers, every company has to be a data company, and one of the things I think we learned in the pandemic is that access to real-time data and real-time analytics no longer are nice to have. That is a differentiator and a competitive advantage.
It's all about the data. I mean, you know, I love the topic, and it's got so many dimensions and such texture. Can't get enough of data.
I know. We have a great guest joining us. One of our alumni is back, Evan Kaplan, the CEO of Influx Data. Evan, thank you so much for joining us. Welcome back to theCUBE.
Thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
So here we are, day one. I was telling you before we went live, we're nice and fresh hosts. Talk to us about what's new at Influx Data since the last time we saw you at reInvent.
That's great. So first of all, we should acknowledge what's going on here. This is pretty exciting.
Yeah.
It does really feel like, I know there was a show last year, but this feels like the first post-COVID show. There's a lot of energy, a lot of attention, despite a difficult economy. In terms of, you guys were commenting in the lead into big data. I think, if we were to talk about big data 5, 6 years ago, what would we be talking about? We'd have been talking about Hadoop, we were talking about Cloudera, we were talking about Hortonworks, we We're talking about big data lakes, data stores. I think what's happened is this interesting dynamic of, let's call it, if you will, the secularization of data in which it breaks into different fields, almost a taxonomy. You've got this set of search data, you've got this observability data, you've got graph data, you've got document data. And what you're seeing in the market, and now you have time series data, what you're seeing in the market is this incredible capability by developers, as well, and mostly open source dynamic driving this incredibly capable developers to assemble data platforms that aren't unicellular, that aren't just built on Hadoop or Oracle or Postgres or MySQL, but in fact represent different data types. So for us, what we care about is time series. We care about anything that happens in time, where time can be the primary measurement, which if you think about it, is a huge proportion of real data. Because when you think about what drives AI, you think about what happened, what happened, what happened, what happened, what's going to happen. That's the functional thing. But what happened is always defined by a period, a measurement, a time. And so what's new for us is we've developed this new open source engine called IOX. And so it's basically a refresh of the whole database, a columnar database that uses Apache Arrow, Parquet, and Data Fusion, and turns it into a super powerful real-time analytics platform. It was already pretty real-time before, but it's increasingly now. And it adds SQL capability and infinite cardinality, and so it handles bigger data sets, but importantly, not just bigger, but faster data. So that's primarily what we're talking about at the show.
So how does that affect where you can play in the marketplace? How does it affect your total available market?
Great question.
Your customer opportunities?
I think it's really an interesting market in that you've got all of these different approaches to database, whether you take data warehouses from Snowflake or arguably Databricks also, and you take these individual database companies like Mongo, Influx, Neo4j, Elastic, and people like that. I think the commonality you see across all of them is many of them, if not all of them, are based on some sort of open source dynamic. So I think that is an untractable trend. That will continue for on. But in terms of the broader database market, our total available TAM, lots of these things are coming together in interesting ways. And so the wave that we'll ride, that we want to ride, because it's all big data, and it's all increasingly fast data, and it's all machine learning and AI, is really around that measurement issue, that instrumentation. The idea that if you're going to build any sophisticated system, it starts with instrumentation, and the journey is defined by instrumentation. So we view ourselves as that instrumentation tooling for understanding complex systems.
And how?
I have to quick follow-up. Why did you say arguably Databricks? I mean, open source ethos.
Well, I was saying arguably Databricks because it's a great company and it's based on Spark, but there's quite a gap between Spark and what Databricks is today. And in some ways, Databricks from the outside looking in looks a lot like Snowflake to me. It looks a lot like a really sophisticated data warehouse with a lot of post-processing capability.
And with an open source...
Less than a core database, yeah.
Right, yeah, I totally agree. Okay, thank you for that
That was not arguably like they're not a good company.
No, they got great momentum, and I'm just curious.
Absolutely.
So talk a little bit about IOX and what it is enabling you guys to achieve from a competitive advantage perspective, the key differentiators. Give us that scoop.
So if you think about, our old storage engine was called TSM, also open sourced, right? And IOX is open source. And the old storage engine was really built around this time series measurements, particularly metrics, lots of metrics, and handling those at scale and making it super easy for developers to use. But our old data engine only supported either a custom graphical UI that you'd build yourself on top of it, or a dashboarding tool like Grafana or Chronograph or things like that. With IOX, 2 or 3 interventions were important. One is we now will support things like Tableau, Microsoft BI, and so you're taking that same data that was available for instrumentation, and now you're using it for business intelligence also. So that became super important, and it kind of answers your question about the expanded market, expands the market. The second thing is when you're dealing with time series data, you're dealing with this concept of cardinality, which is, and I don't know if you're familiar with it, but the idea that it's a multiplication of measurements in a table, and so the more measurements you want over the more series you have this really expanding exponential set that can choke a database off. And the way we've designed IAX is to handle what we call infinite cardinality, where you don't even have to think about that design point of view. And then lastly, it's just query performance is dramatically better. And so it's pretty exciting.
So the unlimited cardinality, basically you could identify relationships between data and different databases, is that right?
Between
At
the same
scale.
database, but different measurements very
Different
quickly.
tables.
Yeah, yeah.
Right?
Yeah, yeah. So you can
Technically.
handle, so you could say, I want to look at the way the noise levels are performed in this room according to 400 different locations on 25 different days over 7 months of the year, and that each one is a measurement, each one adds to cardinality, and you can say, I want to search on Tuesdays in December what the noise level is at 2:21 p.m., and you get a very quick response. That kind of instrumentation is critical to smarter systems.
How are you able to process that data in a performance level that doesn't bring the database to its knees? What's the secret sauce behind that?
It's a columnar database. It's built on Parquet and Apache Arrow, but suffice to say, without a much longer conversation, it's an architecture that's really built for pulling that kind of data. If you know the data is time series and you're looking for a time measurement, you already have the ability to optimize pretty dramatically.
So it's that purpose-built aspect of it.
It's the purpose-built aspect. You couldn't take Postgres and do the same thing.
Right, because a lot of vendors say, oh yeah, we have time series now.
Yeah.
Right, so.
Yeah.
Right.
And they do.
Yeah,
but it's not.
Yeah.
The founding of the company came because Paul Dix was working on Wall Street building time series databases on HBase, on MySQL, on other platforms, and realized every time we do it, we have to rewrite the code. We build a bunch of application logic to handle all these. We're talking about, we have customers that are handling hundreds of millions to billions of points a second. So you're talking about an ingest level. You think about all those data points, you're talking about an ingest level that just doesn't, just databases aren't designed for that.
Right.
And so it's not just us, our competitors also build good time series databases, and so the category is really emergent.
Yeah.
Can you talk about a favorite customer story that you think really articulates the value of what Influx is doing, especially with IOX?
Yeah, sure, and I love this story because, Tesla may not be in favor because of the latest Elon Musk charades, so we've had about a 4-year relationship with Tesla where they built their Powerwall technology around recording it, seeing your device, seeing the stuff, seeing the charging on your car is all captured in Influx databases that are reporting from Powerwalls and mega power packs all over the world, and they report to a central place at Tesla's headquarters, and it reports out to your phone, and so you can see it. And what's really cool about this to me is, I've got 2 Tesla cars, and I've got a Tesla solar roof tiles. So I watch this data all the time. So it's a great customer story. And actually, if you go on our website, you can see I did an hour interview with the engineer that designed this system, because the system is super impressive. And I just think it's really cool. Plus it's, it's all the good green stuff that we really appreciate supporting sustainability.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Talk about, what's in it for me as a customer, what you guys have done, the change to IOX. What are some of the key features of it and the key values in it for customers like Tesla, like other industry customers as well?
Well, so it's relatively new. It just arrived in our cloud product, so Tesla's not using it today. We have our first set of customers starting to use it. It's in open source, so it's a very popular project in the open source world. But the key issues are really the stuff that we've kind of covered here, which is that a broad SQL environment, so accessing all those SQL developers, the same people who code against Snowflake's data warehouse or Databricks or Postgres now can code that data against Influx, open up the BI market, it's the cardinality, it's the performance, it's really an architecture. It's the next, we've been doing this for 6 years. It's the next generation of everything we've seen, how you make time series be super performant. And that's only relevant because more and more things are becoming real time. As we develop smarter and smarter systems, the journey is pretty clear. You instrument a system, you let it run, you watch for anomalies, you correct those anomalies, you re-instrument the system. You do that 4 billion times, you have a self-driving car. You do that 55 times, you have a better podcast that is handling its audio better, right? So everything is on that journey of getting smarter and smarter.
So you guys are the big committers to IOX, right?
Yes.
And talk about how you support the surrounding developer community, how you get that flywheel effect going.
First, it's actually a really kind of, let's call it, it's more art than science.
Yeah.
First of all, you you come up with an architecture that really resonates for developers. And Paul Dix, our founder, really is a developer's developer. And so he started talking about this in the community about an architecture that uses Apache Arrow Parquet, which is the standard now becoming for file formats, that uses Apache Arrow for directing queries and things like that, and uses Data Fusion, and said, what this thing needs is a columnar database that sits behind all of this stuff and integrates it. And he started talking about it 2 years ago. And then he started publishing in IOX the commits in GitHub commits. And slowly but over time in Hacker News and other people go, oh, yeah, this is fundamentally right. It addresses the problems that people have with things like ClickHouse or plain databases or Close, and they go, okay, this is the right architecture at the right time. Not different than original Influx, not different than what Elastic hit on, not different than what Confluent with Kafka hit on in their time is. You build an audience of people who are committed to understanding this kind of stuff, and they become committers, and they become
the core.
Good. Yeah. And you build out from it. And so we chose to have an MIT open source license.
Yep.
It's not some secondary license. Competitors can use it, and competitors can use it against us.
Yeah,
one of the things I know that Influx Data talks about is the time to awesome, which I love that, but what does that mean? What is the time to awesome for a developer?
It comes from that original story where Paul would have to write 6 months of application logic and stuff to build a time series-based applications. And so Paul's notion was, and this was based on the original Mongo, which was very successful because it was very easy to use relative to most databases. So Paul developed this commitment, this idea that I quickly joined on, which was, hey, it should be relatively quickly for a developer to build something of import to solve a problem. It should be able to happen very quickly. So it's got a schema-less background, so you don't have to know the schema beforehand. It does some things that make it really easy to feel powerful as a developer quickly. And if you think about that journey, if you feel powerful with a tool quickly, then you'll go deeper and deeper and deeper, and pretty soon you're taking that tool with you wherever you go. It becomes the tool of choice as you go to that next job, or you go to that next application. And so that's a fundamental way we think about it. To be honest with you, we haven't always delivered perfectly on that. It's generally in our DNA, so we do pretty well, but I always feel like we can do better.
So if you were to put a bumper sticker on one of your Teslas about Influx Data, what would it say?
By the way, I'm not rich. It just happened to be that we have 2 Teslas. And we had them for a while. We're just committed to that. So ask the question again, sorry.
A bumper sticker on Influx Data, what would it say? How would I understand?
It'd be time to awesome. It would be that phrase, is time to awesome, right?
Love that.
Yeah, I love it.
Excellent, time to awesome. Evan, thank you so much for joining Dave and me
Thanks,
on the
you guys.
program.
It's been really fun.
Great to have you on, Evan.
Great to have you back, talking about what you guys are doing and helping
Anytime.
organizations like Tesla and others to really transform their businesses, which is all about business transformation these days. We appreciate your insights.
That's great.
Thank you.
For our guest and Dave Vellante, I'm Lisa Martin. You're watching theCUBE, the leader in emerging and enterprise tech coverage. We'll be right back with our next guest.
call.
My name is Dave Vellante, and I'm a longtime industry analyst. So when you're as old as I am, you've seen a lot of transitions. Everybody talks about industry cycles and waves. I've seen many, many waves. Met a lot of industry executives, and I'm a little bit of an industry historian. When you interview many thousands of people, probably 5,000 or 6,000 people, as I have over the last half of a decade, you get to interact with a lot of people's knowledge, and you begin to develop patterns. And so that's sort of what I bring is an ability to catalyze the conversation and share that knowledge with others in the community. Our philosophy is everybody's expert at something, everybody's passionate about something and has real deep knowledge about that something. Well, we want to focus in on that area and extract that knowledge and share it with our communities. This is Dave Vellante. Thanks for watching theCUBE.
This is SiliconANGLE Media's theCUBE. It's our flagship program. We go out to the events and extract the signal from the noise. I'm John Furrier. My co-host this week, Stu Miniman, our next guest, Michael Dell. Welcome back to theCUBE.
Thank you. Super excited to be with you, and obviously super excited about the formation of Dell Technologies.
In the technology business, there's just not a lot of real-time live TV coverage, and theCUBE is a non-linear TV operation. We do everything that the TV guys on cable don't do. We do longer interviews, we ask tougher questions, and for shows that have theCUBE cover it, it makes the show buzz, it creates excitement. More importantly, it creates great content.
Being a leader and being right a lot means that you get to the right answer, regardless of whose idea it was at the beginning, and regardless of how many times you change your mind along the way. Great leaders change their minds when they get new information.
We've been at this now for more than half a decade. It's a unique idea that John Furrier brought to our organization. It's been exciting to see the growth of theCUBE. We've taken theCUBE internationally, and we're innovating in new ways, always trying to push the envelope.
Back to the point about innovation in cloud is, yes, it's lower cost, it's better economically, yes, it's simpler, but it also drives more innovation at the same time, and it's really the combination of all these factors that do the trick.
Today, video is a key part to the way in which people learn, communicate, and we are focusing our company on storytelling. A good place to tell that story is on theCUBE.
It's a great way to get all your messages across to a wide range of audience in a very engaging, entertaining way. I just love that format.
It's been an exciting journey working with theCUBE. We get to go out to so many shows, help extract the signal from the noise, interact with such a wide variety of clientele, both practitioners, thought leaders, some big name industry people, and we've helped some people raise their profiles in there, move their careers forward, and move their businesses forward.
Yeah.
coverage of AWS reInvent continues in a moment.
Hey everyone, welcome back to theCUBE's live coverage of AWS reInvent 2022. This is day one, I should say, evening one, of 3.5 days of wall-to-wall coverage on theCUBE. Lisa Martin here with Dave Vellante. Dave, we love talking about data, but the most important thing about data is if there's a breach, which are happening more and more frequently, that you can get it back. So data backup, data protection, data resiliency, hugely important.
Well, it used to be you got snake bit and then you close the barn door after the horse ran away. Now I think people are a lot more aware that they got to protect their data and be proactive about it. It can't just be an afterthought.
It can't be an afterthought. We've got the CTO of Own Backup here. We're going to be talking about that. Adrian Kunzel. Adrian, welcome to theCUBE.
Thanks for having me.
Talk a little bit about Own Backup, what is unique about it?
So we are the leading SaaS data protection vendor. We've built a business based on the fact that SaaS has become a center of gravity for a lot of companies now. A lot of people have moved with digital transformation and more recently with the COVID effects to digitize their business. Our platform is powered by AWS. We've got 5,000 plus customers that trust what we do and to look after their data. We help them with resiliency, compliance, security, and we do it for people who are using Salesforce, ServiceNow, and Microsoft Dynamics 365.
People are going to say, wait a minute, is my data in the cloud? Isn't it already backed up? Why do I, right? That's what they're going to say, so how do you respond?
Yes, lots of people say that. That is exactly right. So what people are beginning to realize much more is that there's actually a shared responsibility model between your SaaS provider and yourselves. And the SaaS providers do a phenomenal job of giving you disaster recovery, a database copy, networking infrastructure, a bunch of security controls at that level. But they're pretty frank about the data you put in there is your data.
Right.
And just that it's up to you to put the data in there, it's also up to you to keep it in there. And that's not so easy when you've got lots of integrations, you've got users running around in the applications, et cetera. So, yeah, the heart of it is, it's your data, you put it in there, you better be looking after it too.
That's so important for customers to understand what is Salesforce's responsibility, what's my responsibility, so that they really nail that. What are some of the main challenges as we see the cybersecurity landscape has changed so much in the last couple of years? Ransomware is now when it's going to happen to us, how often, what's going to be the significance? What are some of the main challenges that you're talking with customers about these days?
So really, on the data side, it definitely hinges around ransomware, but I would also say, when you think about what digital transformation has done for customers, moved you to a world where you've got to be on 24/7, right? You can't afford to have systems down, whether that's your public website or even things your salespeople are using. And so on the data side, we talk a lot with our customers about really recovery, not so much about backup. Backup is in our name, but our product is called Recover, and there's a reason for that. We're trying to focus on how can we help customers quickly get back to a good state when they've had an incident. So that's kind of the data side of it. On the security side of it, it's really about how do they manage all the controls that SaaS providers now give them. Make sure the right people in their organization can see the right data, and the data they should not be able to see, the data they shouldn't be able to see. And that's just getting increasingly complex, really anchored around the fact that the volume of the data is growing, the complexity of that data is growing, and really the sensitivity of that data is growing, right? When you think about all the data privacy rules, 10 years ago we didn't care about keeping a whole bunch of data around. Now you've kind of got to get rid of it. So you've actually got to manage it through its life cycle.
So the shared responsibility model as applied to data protection is kind of an interesting topic, because you always think about it for security, and I know security and data protection are these adjacencies, but it's a complicated situation because you've got shared responsibility models now across multiple clouds. It's got to be way more complicated across SaaS, because you've got different policies, you've got a lot more SaaS than you have. There's 3 clouds, maybe 4 if you put in Alibaba. You know, and yeah, I know there's hosting and Oracle and IBM, et cetera, but hyperscalers. And so, but there's dozens, if not hundreds of SaaS products at a company. So are you able to create a consistent experience and for your customers across all those? Now, of course, I know you're not doing hundreds and thousands of SaaS products, but you got, you know, pretty big ones here, ServiceNow, Salesforce, 365. Let's start there.
So consistency, we're hoping will come. Honestly, where the industry is right now, it's getting each one in a state where you're comfortable with it, right?
Get it protected,
Take a Salesforce, a typical Salesforce environment right now, has a survey we did recently, about 2,000 fields that have sensitive data in it, in some way, shape, or form. You couple that with about 85% of the users can see some fields that are sensitive. How you manage that matrix is just really hard, and that's part of what our secure product brings to the table. Helps you understand who can see what and why they can see it.
So where are your customer conversations these days? Are you talking to CIOs and CISOs? Is this at that level?
For some of our customers, yes, it absolutely gets there. The real core of our discussion is the guy who owns and runs the sales technology, for example, right? Or the ServiceNow technology, or typically a center of excellence. Those have been a key way for us to help an organization understand what the risks are, what's necessary, what they're having to do given that they don't have a backup now, and have those shared responsibility model conversations. That's kind of where it starts.
Are you finding that most customers are not backing up Salesforce, for example, or ServiceNow, or are they switching from a competitor over to own backup?
Sad to say that it's mostly not. Yeah. It's predominantly, I thought my cloud provider had me covered for that.
So the market is huge.
Yes.
Massive opportunity.
Yeah. Yeah, if you think of the number of Salesforce instances, not ignoring ServiceNow and Dynamics for a moment, Salesforce talks about, I don't know, 150,000 customers, somewhere in that mark. We have 500 of them.
So how do you get the first penguin off the iceberg? What's the sort of customer conversation like, just in terms of, you know, educating them, incenting them, and kind of pushing them over the edge so that they actually do start protecting their data?
Yeah, so sadly it sometimes starts with, I had a data loss. I spent weeks working at it. I got 75% of my data back, but not all of it, and that's a real customer quote. And in other cases it's, in other cases it's, how do we, you know, how are you thinking about your Salesforce environment? Particularly customers that have a lot of them. How sensitive is the data? How critical is the data in there? What are you doing to protect it today? We have some people doing weekly exports, which Salesforce provides. It's a manual step. The first penguin off the iceberg, as you say, is kind of to say, hey, well, why don't you automate that, right? Don't have to rely on somebody on a Tuesday pulling the data down. So those are places where it starts.
Yeah, so, you know, Lisa, I was saying earlier that, you know, it closed the barn door, right? And that's essentially what Adrian's saying, is you've got, you basically got to look for that customer that's been snake bitten.
Yeah.
But generally speaking, I feel like there's more awareness. I was going to ask you, in this economic climate, is data protection recession proof? And I think it's not, right? People sort of, but at the same time, if you're not proactive about it, you really could hurt your business.
Absolutely.
So, what are your thoughts on customers getting more efficient with regard to their data estate, their data protection? Can you turn it into a positive?
I think it absolutely is a positive. Obviously, we're in an environment where CIOs are having to look at every penny they're spending. But if you think about what you're using the data for, you're making business decisions based on this data every day. Your entire organization is making business decisions. So if you've got missing data or inaccurate data, you're making suboptimal decisions, right? So that comes back to data protection, comes back to brand reputation, and it comes back to how quickly can you get the data back into the shape you need it to be in. And that again is why we focus on the recovery side of the equation, not just the backup side, right? Sorry. I would also say that in these recession bit times, you've got fewer people doing as much work as you had before. That raises the chance of errors. And we see across our customer base, 50% of the data corruption or data loss occurrences happen because a human did something by mistake.
Yeah, sure.
And if you up the stress of those humans, you're going to get more errors.
Should you, when you're talking with IT professionals or maybe sales leaders, should IT be thinking differently about spend for data protection versus general spend, given that the whole point is to be able to recover data when something happens?
I think you have to think about it from a kind of a risk and a business continuity perspective, right? Data protection tangibly reduces your business risk, right? It gets you back up faster. It helps you stay running. It helps ensure that the right people have access to the right data and from a secure standpoint. And all of those just lower your risk. And if you're having discussions, as CIOs should be, with their business counterparts around business continuity, with the criticality of the data that's in Salesforce and these other SaaS applications today, I think it's pretty obvious that you should have a strong data protection strategy around it.
Absolutely.
Or else your business is at risk.
Right, and nobody wants to be the next headline.
No.
My last question for you, Adrian, is if there was a billboard near your headquarters, what would it say? What's that tagline about own backup that really nails it home?
I think it's nobody operating in the cloud should ever lose data. And that's what we're here to do.
Excellent. Adrian, it's been a pleasure having you on the program. Thank you for talking with Dave and me
Great talking to you
about own backup, what you guys are doing, and really how organizations need to be very aware of that shared responsibility model. It sounds like you guys are well on your way to helping them understand that. We appreciate your time.
Thank you both.
Thank you, best of luck.
Our
Take
pleasure.
care.
For our guest and Dave Vellante, I'm Lisa Martin. You're watching theCUBE, the leader in emerging and enterprise tech coverage. I have you lost the guest.
Good to see you, John.
Hi.
How you doing? Of course, yeah. Okay, you got it. Yeah,
Nice
you
to
come
meet you,
behind.
Adrian. Oh, sure. You're welcome,
bet.
thank you.
All right, take care, guys.
No, pretty much the entire time.
Ajay is here.
have, because at the end of the day, customers are looking for an end-to-end solution that solves their business problems, and they are very good at real-time data analytics and HTAP, right? Because we have transactional databases, analytical databases, data lakes, but HTAP is a gap that we currently have, and by partnering with them, we can essentially address the needs of our customers, and also what we plan to do is try to integrate our products and solutions with that, so that when we can deliver a solution to our customers.
This is why I was saying earlier, I think this is a tell sign of what's coming from a lot of use cases where people are partnering. Right now you got the cloud, it's a bunch of building blocks. If you put it together yourself, you can build a very durable system, very stable. If you want out-of-the-box solution, you can get that pre-built, but you really can't optimize it, breaks, you got to replace it. High level. Engineering systems together is a little bit different. It's not just buying something out of the box. You guys are working together. This is kind of an end-to-end dynamic that we're going to hear a lot more about at reInvent from the CEO of AWS. But you guys are doing it across companies, not just with AWS. Can you guys share this new engineering business model, use case? Do you agree with what I'm saying? Do
No,
you think
that? Do you think John's crazy?
Am I crazy?
I mean, we're open all discourse.
You got out of the box, engineer it yourself, but then now when people do joint engineering projects, they're different.
Yeah, yeah. I think our partnership is a testament to what you just said, right? When you think about how to achieve real-time insights, the data comes into the system and the customers and the new applications want insights as soon as the data comes into the system. So what we have done is basically build an architecture that enables that. We have our own storage engine, query engine, indexing, etc. And so we've innovated in our indexing, in our database engine. But we want to go further than that. We want to be able to exploit the innovation that's happening at IBM. A very good example is, for instance, we have a native connector with Cognos, their BI dashboards, right, to reason data very natively. So we built a hyper-efficient system that moves the data very efficiently. A very other good example is embedded AI. So IBM, of course, has built AI chip, and they have basically advanced quite a bit into the embedded AI, custom AI. So what we have done is as a true marriage between the engineering teams here, we make sure that the data in single store can natively exploit that kind of goodness. So we have taken their libraries. So if you have data in single store, like let's imagine if you have Twitter data, if you want to do sentiment analysis, you don't have to move the data out, train the model outside, etc. We just have the pre-built embedded AI libraries already. So it's a pure engineering managed there. That kind of opens up a lot more insights than just simple analytics.
And cost, by the way, too, moving
Of
data
course.
around.
Another big theme.
Yeah, and latency and speed is everything about single store, and it couldn't have happened without this kind of a partnership.
So you've been at IBM for almost 2 decades. Don't look it, but at nearly 17 years in, how has, and maybe it hasn't, so feel free to educate us, how has IBM's approach to AI and ML evolved, as well as looking to involve partnerships in the ecosystem as a collaborative, raise the water level together force?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think when we initially started AI, right, I think we had, if you recollect, Watson was the forefront of AI. We started the whole journey. I think our focus was more on end solutions, both horizontal and vertical. Watson Health, which is more vertically focused. We're also looking at Watson Assistant, Watson Discovery, which were more horizontally focused. I think that whole strategy has evolved over a period of time. Now we are trying to be more open. For example, this whole embeddable AI that Sirish was talking about, it's essentially making the guts of our AI libraries, making them available for partners and ISVs to build their own applications and solutions. We've been using it historically within our own products for the past few years, but now we're making it available so that...
How big of a shift is that? Do you think we're seeing a more open and collaborative ecosystem in the space in general?
Absolutely, because, I mean, if you think about it, in my opinion, everybody is moving towards AI, and that's the future. And you have two options. Either you build it on your own, which is going to require a significant amount of time, effort, investment, research, or you partner with the likes of IBM, which has been doing it for a while, right? And it has the ability to scale to the requirements of all the enterprises and partners. So you have that option, and some companies are picking to do it on their own, but I believe that there's a huge amount of opportunity where people are looking to partner and source what's already available as opposed to investing from the scratch.
Classic buy versus build analysis for them to figure out to get into the game.
And why reinvent the wheel when we're all trying to do things at not just scale, but orders of magnitude faster and more efficiently than we were before? It makes sense to share, but it does feel like a bit of a shift, almost a paradigm shift in the culture of competition versus how we're going to creatively solve these problems. There's room for a lot of players here, I think, and yeah, I don't know, it's really...
Well, I wanted to ask, if you don't mind me jumping in on that. So, okay, I get that. People buy, build, I'm going to use existing or build my own. The decision point on that, as to your point about the path of getting in the path of AI, is, do I have the core competency? Skills gap's a big issue. So, okay, theCUBE, if you had AI, we'd take it because we don't have any AI engineers around yet to build out on all the linguistic data we have. So, we might use your AI, but I might say to Savannah, we want to have a core competency. How do companies get that core competency going while using and partnering with AI? What do you guys see as a way for them to get going? Because I think some people will probably want to have core competency of
Yeah,
AI.
so I think I want to distinguish between a solution which requires core competency. You need expertise on the use case, and you need expertise on your industry vertical and your customers, versus the foundational components of AI, which are agnostic to the core competency, right? Because you take the foundational piece and then you further train it and refine it for your specific use case. So we're not saying that we are experts in all the industry verticals. What we are good at is like foundational components, which is what we want to provide.
Got it.
Yeah.
That's the hard, deep, heavy lift.
Yeah, and I can give a color to that question from our perspective, right? When we think about what is our core competency, it's about databases, right? But there's a symbiotic relationship between data and AI. You know, they sort of like really move each other, right? You need...
They kind of can't have one without the other.
You can't,
so.
Right? And so the question is, how do we make sure that we expand that relationship where our customers can operationalize their AI applications closer to the data, not move the data somewhere else and do the modeling and then training somewhere else and dealing with multiple systems, et cetera. And this is where this kind of a cross-engineering relationship helps.
Awesome, awesome, great. And then I think companies are going to want to have that baseline foundation and then start hiring in, learning. It's like driving a car, you get the keys when you're ready to go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'll give you a simple example, right?
I want that turnkey lifestyle, we all do, yeah.
Yeah, let me just give you a quick analogy, right? For example, you can basically make the engines and the car on your own, or you can source the engine and you can make the car. So it's basically an option that you can decide. The same thing with airplanes as well, right? Whether you want to make the whole thing or whether you want to source from someone who's already good at doing that piece, right? So that's...
Or even create a new alloy, for that matter. I mean, you can take it all the way down in that analogy.
Right. Is there a structural change in how companies are laying out their architecture in this modern era as we start to see this next gen cloud emerge? Teams, security teams becoming much more focused, data teams, IT's building into the DevOps, into the developer pipeline, seeing that trend. What do you guys see in the modern data stack kind of evolution? Is there a data solutions architect coming? Do they exist yet? Is that what we're going to see? Is it data as code with automation? How do you guys see this landscape of the evolving persona?
I mean, if you look at the modern data stack as it is defined today, it is too detailed, it's too verbose, and there are way too many layers, right? There are at least 5 different layers. You got to have like a storage, you replicate it to do real-time insights, and then there's a query layer, a visualization, and then AI, right? And so you have too many ETL pipelines in between, too many services, too many choke points, too many failures, right?
ETL, that's the dirty 3-letter word.
Say no to ETL.
Adam Selesky, that's his quote, not mine. We'll hear that tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, there are different names to it. They don't call it ETL, they call it replication and whatnot. But the point is,
more hassle.
The data is getting...
More hassle.
More hassle.
Yeah.
The data is ultimately getting replicated in the modern data stack, right? And that's kind of one of our thesis at Single Store, which is that you'd have to converge, not hyper-specialize. And convergence is possible in certain areas, right? When you think about operational and analytics as 2 different aspects of the data pipeline, it is possible to bring them together, and we've done it. We have a lot of proof points to it. Our customer stories speak to it. And that is one area of convergence. We need to see more of it. the relationship with IBM is sort of another step of convergence, wherein the final phases, the operation analytics is coming together, and can we take analytics, visualization with reports and dashboards and AI together? This is where Cognos and embedded AI comes into together, right? So we believe in single store, which is really convergence.
One single path.
A shocking tie back there.
And so obviously, one of the things we love to joke about on theCUBE, because we like to goof on the old enterprise, is they solve complexity by adding more complexity. That's old thinking. The new thinking is put it under the covers, abstract away the complexities, and make it easier.
That's right.
So how do you guys see that? Because this end-to-end story is not getting less complicated. It's actually, I believe, increasing in complexity. However, there's opportunities to put it under the covers or put it under the hood. What do you guys think about how this new complexity gets managed, or in this new data world we're going to be coming in?
Yeah, so I think you're absolutely right. The world is becoming more complex. Technology is becoming more complex. And I think there is a real need, and it's not just coming from us, it's also coming from the customers to simplify things. So our approach around embeddable AI is exactly that, because we are essentially providing libraries. Just like you have Python libraries, Java libraries, now you'll have AI libraries that you can go infuse and embed deeply within applications and solutions. So it becomes integrated and simplistic. For the customer point of view, from a user point of view, it's very simple to consume, right? So that's what we're doing. And I think Single Store is doing that with data, simplifying data, and we are trying to do that with the rest of the portfolio, specifically AI.
It's no wonder there's a lot of synergy between the two companies. John, do you think they're ready for the Instagram challenge?
Yes, they're ready.
I think they're ready. So we're doing a bit of a challenge, little 30-second off the cuff. What's the most important takeaway? This could be think of it as your thought leadership soundbite from AWS
on
2022.
an Instagram reel, I'm scrolling. That's the Instagram
It's
reel.
your moment to stand out. Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Suresh, you look like you're ready to rock. Let's go for it. You've got that smile. I'm going to let you run.
Oh, goodness. There's this quote from astrophysics. Space moves matter, and matter tells space how to curve. They have that kind of a relationship. I see the same between AI and data, right? They need to move together, and so AI is possible only with right data, and data is meaningless without good insights through AI. They really have that kind of relationship, and you would see a lot more of that happening in the future. The future of data and AI are combined, and that's going to happen, accelerate a lot faster.
Suresh, well done. Wow,
Thank you.
I am very impressed. Hey man, it's tough acts to follow. You ready for it though? Let's go.
Absolutely, yeah. So just to add to what Suresh said, right, I think there's a quote from Rob Thomas, one of our leaders at IBM. There's no AI without IA. Essentially, there's no AI without information architecture, which essentially is data. But I want to add one more thing. There's a lot of buzz around AI. I mean, we're talking about simplicity here. AI, in my opinion, is three things, and three things only. Either you use AI to predict future for forecasting, use AI to automate things. It could be simple, mundane tasks. It could be complex tasks, depending on how exactly you want to use it. And third is to optimize. So predict, automate, optimize. Anything else is buzz.
Okay.
Brilliantly said. Honestly, I think you both probably hit the 30-second time mark that we gave you there, and the enthusiasm, loved your hunger on that. You were born ready for that kind of pitch. I think they both nailed it for the soundbite highlights.
Nailed it. Well done.
I think that about sums it up for us. One last closing note and opportunity for you. You have a V8.0 product coming out soon, December 13th, if I'm not mistaken. You want to give us a quick 15-second preview of that?
Super excited about this. This is one of our major releases. So we are evolving the system on multiple dimensions, on enterprise and governance and programmability. So there are certain features that some of our customers are aware of. We have made huge performance gains in our JSON access. We made it easy for people to consume WASM on on-prem and hybrid architectures. There are multiple other things that we're going to put out on our site. So it's coming out on December 13th. It's a major next phase of our system.
And real quick, WASM is the WebAssembly momentum, the new hot trend.
We are pioneers in that. We embedded WASM inside the engine. So you could run complex modules that are written in, could be C, could be Rust, could be Python. Instead of writing the the SQL, ANSI SQL as a stored procedure, you can now run those modules inside.
I wanted to get that out there because at KubeCon we covered that, Savannah.
It's a hot topic for us, John.
Like a blanket, we covered it like a blanket.
Wow. On that glowing note, Suresh, thank you so much for being here with us on the show. We hope to have both Single Store and IBM back on plenty more times in the future. Thank all of you for tuning in to our coverage here from Las Vegas, Nevada at AWS reInvent 2022 with John Furrier. My name is Savannah Peterson. You're watching theCUBE, the leader in high-tech coverage. We'll see you tomorrow.